up on Access Tech Live.
Our new Macs coming this Halloween. Microsoft's Dave Dame joins us to dive into the new AI Copilot. And Sean Priest is here to talk about the latest episode of Shaun of the Shed.
This is Access Tech Live with Stephen Scott and Marc Aflalo. The latest in tech and accessibility every week. Follow us and get involved now at Access Tech Live.
Hey everyone, welcome along to another Access Tech Live. We have an exciting show lined up for you today as we welcome Dave Dame, Senior Director of Product Accessibility at Microsoft. He is with us this hour. Plus, we're going to attempt a live demonstration of Microsoft Copilot in Windows 11. Marc Aflalo is with me as always, alongside me, Stephen Scott. Hello to you, Marc. How are you?
I'm not bad. I'm looking forward to the live demo because if you are a tech head like we are, live demos tend to fail miserably. But we've rehearsed this several times. We're going to try it real. We're not, this is not put on. We're not recording and playing back video. We're going to try it live. So whatever happens might happen. For example, today we're having some issues with our live stream. So we'll definitely get that online afterwards. If you are watching, of course, on the MITV, you're with us. So looking forward to the question of the day. It's an awesome show lined up. I'm really excited to have Dave with us this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming up later as well, our good friend, as you mentioned at the top, Sean Priest is joining us to talk all about the latest episode of Shaun of the Shed that's about to drop on YouTube and on podcast. But first, let's catch up with the main news headlines.
Now, Access Tech Live headlines.
Stephanie Cadieux, Canada's Chief Accessibility Officer and our first ever guest on this news series, is back in the headlines this week, but it isn't something to celebrate, Stephen. It seems a local airline somehow managed to leave her wheelchair behind on a recent trip to Vancouver, leaving her immobilized. And she tweeted, and I quote, "This was immensely frustrating and dehumanizing, and I was furious." Stephanie spoke with us about air travel in our inaugural interview and said, clearly there is work to be done.
In air travel generally for people with disabilities, there are some big challenges. There is a long way to go, and governments and government, our government, other governments, the United States government is recognizing that and taking steps. There's been a lot of work done up until now, and there's a lot of work going on in the background by the airlines themselves, by the industry more broadly. And by the regulators. It won't be fast. Unfortunately, as much as we want it to be, as much as it should have been already done, it will take time.
A new app called Pedesting is making headlines in Calgary. The app is designed to give people with disabilities specific directions within downtown buildings. Now, working with the building architects, the creators mapped the interiors inch by inch, allowing users to set their starting point and give them pinpoint, accurate directions to where they want to go inside. We caught up with the creator, Nabil Ramji, who explains the challenges he has as a wheelchair user that he wanted to address with the app.
Not knowing where the pickup and drop-off zones might be, whether or not the front entrance is accessible once I get there. Will the washrooms work for me, or do they have elevators, or finding push buttons to access space within the buildings.
The app Pedesting is now available and hopes to obviously expand beyond Calgary to other cities and provinces. Apple's planning a rare evening product unveiling next week in time for Halloween that they're calling Scary Fast on their invitations. The event will take place October 30th, and rumor has it the company will be revealing updates to its Mac lineup. The rumored updates include a refreshed iMac and a new MacBook Pro, both possibly featuring the new M3 chip. Whatever the announcements are, we'll be sure to have them for you on next week's show. And also in Apple news, Apple updated a number of their operating systems yesterday to version 17.1. That includes the Mac, Apple TV, and Apple Watch, bringing the raved about double tap feature to the watch finally. And I've got to tell you, we love it. Award-winning UI designer and engineer Sarah Sudan has launched a new online course called Practical Accessibility. This new self-paced learning tool is designed for web designers and developers who want to start creating accessible websites and applications. Sarah's getting rave reviews from developers and companies like Uber, Comcast, Cisco, Microsoft, and so many more. Here is Sarah, the creator.
I created this course because I know that accessibility can sometimes be straight up difficult and intimidating. How do you get started? Where do you start? How do you know if what you've built is accessible? And how do you fix accessibility issues when they come up? I know how hard it is to find answers and how easy it is to mess up. I know how overwhelming and even frustrating accessibility may feel at first. But I promise you, accessibility isn't always as hard as it seems, especially if you know where and when to start.
The course is available for a one-time fee at practical-accessibility.today. Now, we're less than 1 week away from the official launch of Microsoft 365 Copilot, the new AI-powered productivity assistant that the company's CEO announced on stage at an event earlier this year. Here's Satya Nadella.
Today, we're announcing Copilot, our vision for everyday AI companion for you. We are building Copilot into all of our most used products and experiences and allowing you to summon its power as a standalone app as well. From Bing and Edge to Microsoft 365 and the newest version of Windows.
On November 1st, Microsoft 365 commercial customers will be able to add the option for $30 per month per user, and that brings generative AI features across Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, and so much more, Stephen. I am excited for that, and I'm excited to talk all about Copilot with Dave Dame today as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I do have to ask you, Mark, didn't you just buy a brand new Mac Studio from Apple?
Not only did I buy it, but it was literally delivered the same day that invitation for new Macs went out. So guess what? 15-day return policy. I've left it in the box. It is not going anywhere. I will wait till next week to see what is announced before I decide whether or not I keep it. But I got to tell you, I was told my wife that it was at the mailbox, and she's like, "Oh, that's why you ran there pretty quick to get it." I'm like, "I'm not touching it. I am not touching it."
But just remember, guys, if you have any Mac equipment that you think might be worth some money, don't forget Apple will do trade-in as well. And of course, you can sell it privately if you like, but Apple do the trade-in. And of course, if you have even technology that sometimes might be out, not able to trade in, they will responsibly make sure that it is taken apart and then sold back to you at a future date at an immense price. So anyway, let's move on, because question of the day, we have to bring this up because we are, of course, talking about Copilot today with Dave Dame in just a few moments. So our question of the day, Mark, is this. If you could have a personal artificial intelligent assistant that could master one area of your life, wow, what area would it be? And why? That's a great question. So if you could have a personal AI assistant that could master one area of your life, just one, what area would it be and why? Marc Aflalo, your answer.
Oh, you know what? I have to think about this one long and hard. I know we came up with this question a couple of days ago, but I still haven't quite figured it out because there's, my dog, we don't walk the dog, so there's not that area. Maybe laundry, maybe dishes. I think that'd be a good place to go. You? How about you?
I am with you on this. Laundry is the first place I got to, right? Separating out the colors, that's a cool thing. Actually loading up the machine, emptying the machine, ironing the clothes, basically doing everything. If it could just do everything, that's my one thing I wanted to do, everything.
Well, what do you think? Let us know. You can connect with us online, of course, at Access Tech Live on all social media platforms. And of course, our email address is feedback@accesstechlive.com as well. Coming up, we're going to introduce you to Microsoft's Director of Product Accessibility. His name is Dave Dame, and he joins us right here on Access Tech Live.
We want to hear from you. Follow us on social media and get involved at Access Tech Live. We'll be right back. The latest in tech and accessibility. This is Access Tech Live with Stephen Scott and Marc Aflalo.
Welcome back. Now, our next guest is a tech executive whose passion about design and development of hardware has landed him the role of Director of Product Accessibility at Microsoft. Now, he is an incredible individual who is very open about his life and experiences with cerebral palsy. Dave Dame, welcome to Access Tech Live.
Thanks, Stephen, for having me.
Dave, before we even get to your work with Microsoft, you've been very vocal about your CP. You said in a video, and I quote here, "My cerebral palsy doesn't hold me back. Rather, it's the environment to be able to accommodate my disability that holds me back." That says so much about you as an individual. Is that something you've always believed or something that you realized over time?
I think it's something I realized over time. Like being born with a disability, you always kind of put it on yourself, right? What's wrong with me? Why is it that this is more challenging than some of my friends that are without disabilities? But then as the world began to change and things were becoming more accessible, I realized it wasn't really my disability, but the lack of my environment to accommodate my disability, which held me back. Because if you don't experience a barrier-free, accessible, or inclusive environment, you really don't know what is possible. And as I started experiencing it, as I got older and the world was getting more accommodating, I realized it was less about my cerebral palsy and more about my environment.
Dave, for those who don't know, Microsoft has a philosophy called "Nothing about us without us." I'm curious how that guides the approach to designing accessible products.
Well, we truly want to really listen to the community, right? People with disabilities, like we try to learn a lot about disabilities, but you know what? We don't really live their lives. So we usually like to work hand in hand with the community and really put them beside great product makers so that way they can truly understand the challenges, the environments, the mismatches like we discussed previously in the environment. And then we look for creative ways to be able to solve for that mismatch or minimize it.
Now, Microsoft has publicly announced a 5-year commitment to improve accessibility and to help people with disabilities. Where do you begin fulfilling that? And how do you measure the success?
That's a great question. So my team, we work across windows and devices to really how we satisfy that commitment is we're trying to build products, hardware and software that are inclusive, that help people with disabilities either get into the employment world or to get into school, because that's where we think we can close the disability divide by ensuring we create the technology that enables them. And I believe the way we can measure it is just looking at like the national numbers as we get more and more employment, as we start to lead by example and really try to help the education sector of getting the technology needed to get them to be able to get skilled and upskill. I think that's where we're going to be able to make the improvement. And hopefully we do measure it, but most importantly, hopefully we get to impact the lives of individuals to live full lives.
Dave, you talk about working with the community. I'm curious what the community's response has been, those people that you do work with. I mean, you've got a great inclusive tech lab that gives people the opportunity to really go hands-on with products and develop new solutions. What has the response been? Is it overwhelmingly positive? I'm curious about that.
Well, we do get positive accolades for what we do. But, our community is like every other user base, right? Where, we probably have had a lot of great feedback from some. And then there's some areas where we can do better. And they let us know that as well. It's been really responsive. You mentioned the Inclusive Tech Lab. That really was Microsoft's commitment to inclusive design. And when we bring people in that either have disabilities, which is great to be able to touch the technology or even put them in front of great product makers to learn future products, I think it's just the openness of curiosity we bring, the passion we want to bring to really provide those opportunities, and the humbleness to know that we still can do better. And, as much as we've done, there's still much more to go.
Dave, I remember the last time I spoke to you, you were just off stage. We were talking about the launch of the adaptive accessories. You were up on stage at the Microsoft keynote not that long ago discussing this and having the chance to talk about your role in all of this. And adaptive accessories have really come on leaps and bounds, haven't they? And they've really caught the imagination of lots of people.
Yeah, it's taken on, and as the world's getting better at designing and building for accessibility, I think where we've been trying to leverage the last couple of years, Stephen, is how do we go to market with accessibility? How do we market or make it known these features are available, and really ensure we do the right side of that process, that people are aware of it. We're letting the specialists know that this technology is available to offer maybe their clients or individual people that can work with their accommodations at work, to really kind of inform them that these products are available that could really help their daily lives. And when you mentioned the keynote, we're trying to get the greater visibility on, just so we're aware, right? Because I know as a consumer with a disability, I don't always know what's out there. So a lot of it is, how do we make this consumable, visible for everybody to see what's available to them?
And that work is really paying off, because we talk about it here a lot, Dave, about the fact that it seems like the commitment to accessibility is becoming more and more of a center stage event. So if that was the intention, it's definitely rubbing off. And this leads me perfectly into Copilot, because Copilot is it's the culmination of Microsoft's work with OpenAI and natural language models. How would you describe Copilot as it relates, to accessibility in Windows and Microsoft 365?
Well, I see what Copilot can do, how I use it. It really does a lot of those tasks that took me high effort to do, to make things a lot easier. Think about when the internet came out, Mark, we could use it to search and pull information. And then we would use that information to draft things. So we'd have to, copy, paste, edit, revise. Now we're getting to start at a higher starting point where we can say, you know what, give me a 5-bullet summary of what inclusive design is. And then we can refine it from that higher point to get efficiency, which really can help us generate and really incorporate a lot of documents quicker, and all the expertise to be an M365 expert or Windows expert. Now, using natural language, we can democratize the expertise needed, so everybody can very effortlessly and frictionlessly create amazing documents and be highly productive. Because it's not reinventing the world, but it's simply just making those things that are valuable a lot more easier and intuitive to do.
Yeah, it's really it's quite cool, and we're going to dive into it. Stephen and I are going to attempt a live demo in a couple of minutes here, and you're going to be along for the ride watching us. Hopefully, not fail too much.
I can be a co-pilot.
Well, exactly. Exactly. I want to ask you our question of the day before we go to a break. We're asking the audience if you could have a personal artificial intelligence assistant that could master one area of your life, what would Dave Dame's answer to that question be, and why?
One thing, right? I would say simply help me to the washroom. Because when I have full autonomy to go to the washroom and be able to take for granted I'd have the assistants there and the right bathroom and available, my day just becomes a lot easier. And I know that's probably more rudimentary of the answer that you were expecting, But to me, that's one of the things I got to plan around and really kind of think about before I can even think about the rest of my day.
That's one great thing about these questions, Dave, is that there is no such thing as a wrong answer. And that's the question we pose to the audience. If you can have a personal AI that could be and master one area of your life, what would that be? Let us know. It's at Access Tech Live on all our social media. Dave, stick around. Don't make fun of us too badly on this demo that we're about to do right after we take a break here on Access Tech Live. And Dave, you're coming back.
We want to hear from you. Follow us on social media and get involved at Access Tech Live. We'll be right back. The latest in tech and accessibility. This is Access Tech Live with Stephen Scott and Marc Aflalo.
Back on Access Tech Live. Back on Access Tech Live. Stephen Scott and Marc Aflalo with you, of course. Stephen, you wanted to mention something, that Dave was just talking about.
Yeah, I'm very rarely surprised these days, but that answer that Dave gave to our question of the day, it surprised me so much I can barely speak, because it made me think about something. When he talked about needing assistance to use the washroom, it kind of made me think about one of the biggest problems I have, which is when I go into a public washroom, actually trying to identify where everything is in the washroom. If you've got sight, you walk in, you know where the sink is, you know where the hand towel is, or the dryer or whatever it is, but you don't always know where all that stuff is when you're blind, right? So I'm thinking, hey, could AI help in that regard as well? Could it kind of point, using my phone, could I point and it would tell me what a device is or tell me what something is? That could be really useful. So it's got me thinking. That really has got me thinking.
And listen, I mean, this is where universal design doesn't really translate into the real world, right? Not every space is going to be the same, and this is where tools like the Be My Eyes and all that AI stuff does come into play, and AI does, I guess, technically help in that aspect, right?
It does. Okay, look, we're going to try a live demo here. So, look, this could go horribly wrong. Much like any Bill Gates or Steve Jobs of the world demo you might have seen in the past, we will warn you ahead of time, this could be an epic fail. Do the kids still say that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, look, Mark, where should we begin?
Well, I mean, we're going to throw on the screen here my Microsoft Surface. I've got Windows running here, of course, and I'm going to do my best to describe exactly what's going on here. Now, launching Copilot, they couldn't have made this easier. You press the Apple key. Look at what I'm doing here. The Windows key, and C at the same time, and it brings up. It slides in from the right side of the screen. Basically, it takes over the screen and Copilot appears there. And it really gives you a couple options right off the top, whether the conversation style is going to be more creative, more balanced, or more precise. So I guess that's going to, gauge exactly how things are going to go. And by default, it's on more balance. And it even gives you some suggestions on the screen. It says, here are some things Copilot can help you do. Turn on dark mode. And then it explains Copilot uses AI to respond, so mistakes are possible. Send feedback to help us improve. And let's not forget that there's a nice big PRE for pre-release on the icon to let you know that this may have issues. So that's how it appears on the screen. It's kind of like a chat window, and that's the goal here, is to be able to chat with the actual AI. So on the bottom, there's a box like you would see on any chat window that says ask me anything, where you can type in text, and right next to that, to the right, there's a little microphone. If you want to use voice recognition, you can do that as well. And there's a character count on the bottom that shows you have 2,000 characters per query. So I'm going to ask a basic question like, what time is it now? And see if it can, figure that part out. I mean, it should, considering the fact that, the time is built into the computer and the operating system. It's going to say what time is it now.
It's the most basic thing, right?
The most basic thing. You'd think it would, there we go. The current, and you got to wait, the current time in Dollard des Ormeaux, that's the municipality that I'm in. Well, I'm waiting for it to say that. Quebec is 4:28 GMT. Okay, there you go. You can also check the time in other locations using the Maps app on your Windows device. It's so clever like that, how it refers you to other apps on the device, which is pretty cool. And then it gives you some options, some follow-up options. The cool thing about all this is that it's contextual, so it remembers what you just talked about. So it gives you the option to see, what is the weather like? Can you set a timer for 10 minutes? Okay, not sure if that's relative or not. So my follow-up here is going to be, how far is Montreal from Glasgow? because I want to know if I wanted to walk there right now, how long it would take to get there. And hopefully it knows that obviously I can't walk there and I'm going to have to fly. So we'll see what kind of clever response it gives us now, which is always fun. According to the Bing search results, of course, shameless plug there, the distance between Montreal and Glasgow varies depending on the means of transportation. It's smart. The shortest distance, and in brackets it writes airline, between Montreal and Glasgow is 2,983.38 miles. However, if you want to travel by car, you'd have to cover a distance of 4,805.59 kilometers. You can also use the Google Maps app to find the best route to travel time for your trip. Interesting. It's promoting another search engine. This is kind of fun. So again, contextual information and useful information. I don't think I'd want to get there by car. And there's even a little picture that shows you 4,806 kilometers, and it shows you a little map with Montreal as a pin and Glasgow as a pin, which is pretty cool.
Now, you mentioned dark mode, and that, of course, can be seen by many as an accessibility feature. It is kind of one of those features that's fairly universal nowadays. But, you know, I'm just wondering, can this tool be used to turn on other accessibility features? So I'm thinking on Windows, you've got magnifier for low vision, you've got narrator for blind people. Can it turn those on?
Well, let's try it out. Turn on magnifier, and let's see what it does. I mean, you would assume because it can do dark mode, maybe it can do that. But again, pre-release means that there are things being worked on. So I wrote turn on magnifier, and I'm just waiting for it to respond, and it says, oh, I'm sorry, I cannot turn on the magnifier app for you. However, I can help you find some information on how to use it on your Windows device. Here are some steps you can follow. And it actually says to open magnifier app, press the Windows logo key and the plus sign on your keyboard. You can also go to Start, Settings, Ease of Access, Magnifier, and turn on the toggle under magnifier. And it gives me some more information
but look, just on that point, right? You could think, oh, that's a fail, but actually it's not, because it's helping you. It's actually telling you how to use it and use it properly. Because maybe if it turns on magnifier, it might throw people off, because magnifier is exactly that. It's a magnifying glass that's zooming into your screen. That might freak some people out. So you don't want that. So, you know, actually just telling you instead is good. And, you know, normally if you did a search result for that in your settings, your computer would probably just look back at you and say, I don't know. So, you know, I think this is good. I'm actually impressed.
Okay, fine. You know, I mean, another thing that, you know, we can do and we want to try out here is, you know, summarizing things like websites. Dave talked about, you know, summarizing the things before. So I've got the Access Tech Live page here up on the AMI site. I'm going to take the link from the Edge browser and I'm going to paste it into the chat, and I'm going to write summarize this website. And I'm going to paste the link right here and hit enter and see what it comes back. So it should be able to read the site and give us a pretty good summary as to what's going on here. I'm hoping it doesn't, you know, misspell my name. So it says searching the web, and it says, this website is a collection of episodes from a show called Access Tech Live, which is a live weekly broadcast that covers technology news and topics related to accessibility and inclusion. Okay, this is pretty good.
That works, yeah, that's good.
The show is hosted by Marc Aflalo, they spelled it right, and Stephen Scott, who are both experts in the field of accessible technology. Okay.
Well, you can't get it all right. Okay, it's not always right. You know, close enough.
And it goes on. The episode features, you know, the episodes feature various guests, such as industry professionals, researchers, advocates. And you know what? The funny thing is, if you look at the website itself, nowhere does it say any of this stuff. And then it breaks down some of the topics covered in the episodes include gaming accessibility and the innovations of Xbox Game Studios. So now it's relating to actual episodes that are listed on the page, which is actually pretty cool. But you know what? The most important thing I want to know is, who is Marc Aflalo?
Oh, of course, yeah, of course. We've got to do that one, right?
Listen, you want to see incorrect facts? This is the way we're going to find it here, okay?
He's a chef in Australia or something. Yeah, it's going to be something.
Well, it should be contextual, right? It should know that we just searched for Access Tech Live.
That's true. Yes, that's true.
On the website, so Marc Aflalo, it's a Canadian producer, host, voice talent, and broadcaster. He's the host of 2 shows related to technology and accessibility: Double Tap TV on AMI TV and Your Tech Report in Sirius XM. So it's clearly getting some misinformation here. I've been an influential leader in the industry. It says I've been an influential leader in the industry since the age of 18. Look at that. I'm so cool.
Put that on your business card. That's why I said
no, but it's what's going to be on my business card. I can promise you that. We're going to make sure that's front and center, which is pretty cool. But listen, I mean, we're hearing that, you know, Copilot can do things like create images. It can actually, you know, it can recognize pictures as well. So you got any ideas of what kind of image you want to create?
Okay, tell you what, let's do a cat in a tuxedo.
Okay, so let's go generate an image of a cat in a tuxedo.
Why not,
No
right?
pressure here. No pressure whatsoever. Like, I wish Copilot knew it was on the air live with us and it realized how much pressure
Maybe you should
was
tell
on it to either succeed or fail here. I mean, so far, I don't see any major fails here, right? This is pretty helpful. It goes here. Okay.
And it's
It
useful.
says generating answers for you. I'll try to create that. And it's working. It's like an hourglass with a paintbrush next to it. And it says your image is generating.
Okay. Now, here's the question I need to ask you, Mark, because when this image is created, I'm not going to be able to see it. So I wonder, can we re-upload that image and ask the AI, the Copilot, to tell us what the image is? And then it will prove to me that you've actually done what I asked.
First of all, I'm going to tell you that it generated 4 images for me. And for some reason, it's putting the cat with its paws crossed in front of it in a beautiful tuxedo. The cat has black ears and it's black and white like a tuxedo, in beautiful landscapes. And for some reason, it's sitting on a bench in one of the images with its legs crossed as well, which I find is very cute. So let me see if I can drag that to my desktop. Okay, I did. I dragged it to my desktop, so you can just drag things in and out. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to intentionally, I kind of wanted to reset Copilot, but I'm not really sure how to do it. So I'm gonna upload the image. I'm going to drag it into the search in the Ask Me Anything kind of chat bar. I'm going to say, describe what's in this image. And I'm not telling it that it's the same image, right? So it's uploading. It shows me analyzing the image. Faces may be blurred to protect privacy. So we may see this unfortunate little cat have a blurred face because it thinks it's a real, belongs.
We don't want to
somebody.
Identify the cat, exactly. That would be, even though it's not real. Okay.
Yeah, well, listen, come on, we'll get there. So it takes a little bit of time. Obviously, this image shows a cat in a tuxedo sitting on a bench near a lake. The cat is black and white and has a black bow tie. The cat is looking at the camera with a serious expression. The lake has some trees in the background, and the sky is cloudy. The image is realistic and has a lot of detail. I mean, that's pretty impressive in terms of.
And actually, that's an important part of all of this, though, is the fact that you now get these excellent image descriptions, which for people like myself who are blind, this can be a life changer. It really can, because I could upload an image that perhaps I've got that I don't really get much detail from at all visually. So, I can upload this and get lots of information, about the clothes I was wearing on a particular day, or what the weather was like, or what else is in the environment. And even I remember the first time you tried it, Mark, I remember you saying to me, goodness, there's things in that image I didn't even know were there.
Yeah.
It picks out so well. It's so clever.
Yeah, so I mean, this is just our first dive into Copilot, and next week when it's available for Microsoft 365, and we can really put it to the test in things like spreadsheets and Word documents and Outlook and all those apps that we use on a daily basis. That's where things are really going to make a shift, and we're going to see. And the coolest part about stuff like this is to see what people come up with, because we're playing with it, we're uploading pictures now, but these are things that people probably never thought of doing and are going, oh, that's cool, I never thought I could do that. So I'm excited to see what other people come up with and what ways they try and push it to its limits, because that's what we're going to see next week.
Yeah, I think that was a very good demo. For live demos, that went pretty well. Well done, Marc Aflalo.
I'm impressed. I am impressed. Okay, guys, coming up, Dave Dame. He's been criticizing us in the background. I'm sure he's going to tell us all about whether that was a success or a failure. He's going to join us right back here on Access Tech Live. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment.
We want to hear from you. Follow us on social media and get involved at Access Tech Live. We'll be right back. The latest in tech and accessibility. This is Access Tech Live with Stephen Scott and Marc Aflalo.
We're back on Access Tech Live, and Dave Dame is back with us from Microsoft. Dave, you may have just, covered your ears, covered your eyes during that. I don't know what you thought of our live demo there. We showcased some of the Copilot features that are baked into Windows. How did we do?
I think you guys did great. Like, live demos are probably the most scariest things you can do. And you guys did it great, and you were very articulate, and the curiosity in which you were exploring Copilot is what I hope a lot of the viewers do when they get a chance to experience it. Use curiosity and just push it to the limits to learn what it can do to improve your life.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's about how it can improve your life. And one area we were talking about there, of course, was with the accessibility features. I mentioned narrator and magnifier, just two of the many accessibility features that are already built into Windows. But how will that connect, do you think, across the operating system with all these accessibility features into Copilot?
Again, I think I missed a bit of that question.
So sorry, Dave, we were just asking about the accessibility features. I'm talking there about magnifier, narrator, all these different features that exist within Windows. How will Copilot work with those features to make computers easier to use for people?
Well, right now, as you're showing on your demo, it's the awareness, right? It's showing people they don't have to know where to look for the information. They can just simply ask. So the first step is really just providing the knowledge. And as we evolve AI and use it further, who knows how much more things will do, sense, and respond, and maybe in the future suggest to users that they might take advantage of these features.
Dave, in designing Copilot, obviously there's so much work that goes into this. Like, as consumers, we're looking at this thing going, oh, let's play with this little chat window. But there's so much that goes into it. I'm curious what steps Microsoft has taken to make sure Copilot can be accessible to people, because it's not only about the context and the information that it delivers, but the experience itself needs to be accessible, right?
Well, I think you showed it right from the beginning, starting with multimodal input, right? You can either type it or you can use voice. I think in everything we try to do, especially when it's the Copilot, how do we create as many input and output options we can to use it, and really use the large language model for people to naturally ask for things. Like, I became a great storyteller because I couldn't draw or do images. But in your demo, now we can all create images to be able to supplement what we used to not be able to do, to allow us to express ourselves in ways we couldn't before. So not purely for accessibility, but it surely helps enable people who have challenges doing things that might not be labeled as an accessibility feature, but as an enablement feature.
I have to ask the question for the people at the back of the room who are terrified to put their hands up, Dave, and that is ask what an LLM is, because these are these terms that get thrown around, right? And we know what they are because we deal with this stuff every day, but a lot of people don't have a clue. So can you enlighten us?
Yeah, we usually like to use acronyms just to confuse people. It's large language models. So we try to build models of large dynamic language of all different phrases, words, to make it more human, right? We as humans have learned many different terms, vernaculars, analogies, and that's why it's easy for us to interact with each other. On the technology side, using large language models, we're trying to create that naturalness and flexibility for interactions just to make technology less scary and democratize it so it's more intuitive for everybody. Kind of like what the mouse did for people that, didn't always enjoy command prompting everything. The mouse allowed us to point where we can see. And now that we're using large language models, we can speak naturally and interact with it to really take advantage of this great technology without having to become an expert in it.
Dave, we talked earlier about, accessibility taking a little bit more of a center stage approach. And in the last product keynote with the Surface Laptop Studio, it definitely got a spotlight because of the new haptic touchpad that was completely redesigned to allow people, obviously, who don't have hands to be able to use it and use it in different ways. Are we going to see the reinvention of some of this hardware to adapt to the different ways people use it more and more in the mainstream?
Yeah, what's great was it's not even just for somebody without a hand like Solomon, but it's also for people that might have arthritis, carpal tunnel, they might have low strength. And while we're trying to really put this right into the device, and I think Solomon said it beautifully in his keynote about it, usually as somebody with a disability, we got to bring all our peripherals with us whenever we travel, right? We don't have the luxury of just bringing our device. What we're trying to do in the next little bit is how do we try to incorporate all this amazing assistive kind of technologies right on the device itself to really alleviate the user from having to get extra peripherals, carrying them around with them. So that way people can simply get their device and start using it. So we're trying to make the device itself more flexible from day one to reduce the need of all the other things that you might need to tailor it to your specific needs. And the haptic trackpad was simply one of them.
Dave, we're out of time. Time flies so fast when we're doing this show. I wish we could have another 2 or 3 hours to dive into things with you. I wanted to talk about your scuba diving in Jamaica last week that I saw online as well, but we didn't get to that. So hopefully you'll join us again, and we can dive into way more about Copilot and, of course, everything and the incredible stuff that you guys are doing over at Microsoft.
I'm a huge fan of what both of you do. I always enjoy spending time with you, so I'll always make myself available for you. This is great conversation, and it's great for all the viewers.
We cannot agree with you more, Dave. Thank you so much for being with us. And you guys at home, of course, don't forget the question of the day. If you could have a personal AI system that could master one area of your life, what would that be and why? Those answers and Sean Priest are coming up after we take a quick break here on Access Tech Live. Stick around.
We want to hear from you. Follow us on social media and get involved at Access Tech Live. We'll be right back. The latest in tech and accessibility. This is Access Tech Live with Stephen Scott and Marc Aflalo.
Coming up, your answers to our question of the day. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, every month we debut a new episode of Sean of the Shed, Sean Priest's podcast, all about great accessible tech tips. And Sean joins us now. Sean, welcome back to Access Tech Live.
Thank you. Great to be here, Stephen Scott.
And what do we have to look forward to this month on Sean of the Shed?
Oh, it's a beauty, even if I say so myself. The latest episode of Sean of the Shed is for you NVDA screen reader users out there. NVDA is the free, I love that, free Windows screen reader. Stands for non-visual desktop access. It's absolutely amazing. But there's been a recent update that adds a new, I'm going to call it feature, and that is to do with add-ons. Now, as the name suggests, add-ons means that it can add on extra functions and features to the screen reader. So, for example, I know lots of people out there use JAWS, the screen reader. There's a feature on there called split sound, and it means you can hear the voice, TTS, in one ear and the actual system audio in another. It's really handy. But NVDA doesn't have that by default. But there is a add-on that can give you a very similar feature, and you can get the same effect. So what I'm going to show you in the latest episode of Sean of the Shed is how you can browse for all those different add-ons and how to install them, and more importantly, how to use them. It used to be back in the day that you had to go out searching the web to find these elusive add-ons, but now you can do it all from inside NVDA itself. It's really cool.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Sean. You can find that online now by going to youtube.com/@Shaun of the Shed, Sean being spelled the proper way, he would tell you, SHAUN of the Shed, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Stephen?
Thank you, Sean. Yes, let's get to our question of the day, Mark.
If you could have one personal AI assistant that can master one area of your life, what area would it be and why? This has been a fun question. A lot of people giving us some feedback. A lot of ways I didn't even think of. For example, Leanne writes us, paying the bills so I don't have to keep logging into online banking. That's a curious one. I'm hoping they don't expect AI to actually have the funds to do so. But that'd be good.
You can make the money up, yeah.
Exactly. Randy wrote us, healthy meal planning for a family of 4 who all eat differently. That sounds like that almost could be my wife answering that question, because I think we're all kind of in that boat. Paula D wrote us, taking my dogs out at 4 a.m. I'm surprised there's no addition to that, which is picking up after the dog after it does its business.
That's the next thing.
At 4 a.m.
Absolutely.
That's what I was kind of expecting. Maybe a drone to follow that, or a drone-powered AI could be fun.
A drone with a claw, yeah.
And a sensor, and a dog poop sensor. Stephanie wrote, my job. Okay. Yeah, and funny enough, we got 2 of them. We also got Andre, who wrote us my job. Andre, a fan of the show, Andre F. And Joanna wrote us, changing my cat's litter box and my daughter's diaper. Oof. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. This is one of those questions that I think for the next week or so, we're going to see answers trickle in, and we're going to see answers that we just totally did not expect as to how people actually see personal AI working for them. I don't know. I think still the dog and the picking up after the dog might be the best one so far.
There's a lot of bathroom talk here, which I was not expecting, if I'm honest, out of that question. But there we go. This question forever surprises me that we do every week. We get some incredible answers. Thank you to everyone for sending those in and making me have nightmares tonight.
Yeah, seriously. Stephen, and next week, Sarah Herlinger is going to be joining us. She is the head of accessibility at Apple. So many things to talk to her about. Apple having just released iOS 17.1. The double tap feature on the Apple Watch is super cool. I've been using it ever since it was out last night, and I did the update on my watch. I literally just holding my hand up to my face, going, pinching my thumb and my index finger and letting it navigate the watch was absolutely cool. I'm unfortunately sad that you don't have the Apple Watch Series 2 to be able to test that, but
no, I don't have it, unfortunately. But listen, never mind that, because we're coming off the back of another Apple event, a surprise Apple event called Scary Fast for Halloween. Although it's not, I just want to say this, it's not officially Halloween, because 31st is Halloween. I just want to be very clear
because they know that people are going to be out trick-or-treating. They don't want to dive into trick-or-treating time with your kids. They want you to be paying attention to the event and seeing what they announce, which is going to be pretty
cool. Happy, though. I'm not happy with this, because, 5 p.m. Pacific time, which is 8 p.m. Eastern 1 a.m. in the UK. Come on, Tim Cook, if you're listening.
You know what? You
won't be able to say good morning. You'll have to say good evening.
I will tell you all about it in the morning, and you won't have to worry about it. You're not going to miss a thing. I promise you. I'm guessing this is not going to be a live event. Well, like as well. Also, Copilot November 1st. So we've got a lot of things to look forward to next week. We're going to be diving into, obviously, Copilot. Special thanks to Dave Dame, who took that time to join us. He's a fan of us, Stephen. He's going to come back on the show. Did you hear about that?
I think we're going to clip that and use that a lot in the future.
Oh yeah,
that's
a note. That's a note right here.
I keep those clips. Yeah, absolutely.
I keep those.
And also, Mark, well done to you on the live demo this week, because that was an incredibly difficult thing to do. It's the most nerve-wracking thing to do, is a live demo on stage, but not in front of the millions of people watching Access Tech Live right now. I believe our live stream is back, by the way, so you'll be able to check that out on YouTube as well, which is fantastic.
So we'll check that out. So thank you for being here, of course, this week. Thank you for enjoying and enduring our live demo. On behalf of Microsoft's Dave Dame and Stephen Scott, I am Marc Aflalo. We will catch you again on our next episode here of Access Tech Live.
Thanks for tuning in to Access Tech Live. Follow us online at all social media at Access Tech Live. Email us feedback@accesstechlive.com. Hosted by Stephen Scott in Glasgow and Marc Aflalo in Montreal. Written by Stephen Scott and Marc Aflalo. Live show director, Anastasia Spalding Stenhouse. Technical director, Caitlin Robinson. Audio, Jordan Mulgrave. Live graphics and playback, Kingsley Jugo. Graphics coordinator, Eliza Rocco. Integrated described video specialist, M. Williams. Supervising producer, Michelle Dudis. Copyright 2023, Accessible Media, Inc.
An AMI original production.